TGIF Chicago, welcome to your weekend, friends, and welcome to a high-drama Friday sports night in Chicago. I'm the voice of the Chicago sports fan. This is Chicago Sports Podcast, Monsters of the Madhouse. Tonight, friends, our Bears are in crisis. New offensive coordinator Thomas Brown is in need of a defibrillator stat. Matt Eberflus is yet to hear back from Target on his job application to become a store manager. Old Chucky himself, Jon Gruden, says he has everything to cure what ails the Bears. Caleb Williams needs to quit his Aaron Rodgers recommended darkness retreat and return to the scoring light. And we all need the winner of tonight's gimmick fight of the century between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul to knock some sense into Bears chairman George McCaskey. Welcome to the Madhouse, friends. I'm your guy from Iowa, 𝐷𝐿 along with the man, the myth, the legend, the man, the straw that stirs this drink, Brandon Trax Hyatt, the Punky LT, and also the great American DJ and hit spinning program director of the Knoxville Wolf and the afternoon host of 97.3 Hits in Knoxville, the great Matt Cooper. Fellas, how we doing tonight, guys?
Feeling good, man. Look at this, dude. The original OG's on a show tonight.
Yes,
how about
the
that,
OG
dude?
in the house.
We're going back.
Brandon Trax Hyatt, he says he's going to sleep when he's dead. Trax, do you have any plans to sleep a minute this weekend?
No, not at all.
Why do you need sleep for?
Yeah, Trax has a lot of exciting stuff coming up for CSP this weekend, friends. We will talk to you about that as we go on through the night. All right, friends, let us start off, if we could, with the man who says he can cure all the ills of the Chicago Bears offense. That is one Jon Gruden, who's been in NFL exile, I should say, for the last few years since he was unceremoniously fired by the Los Angeles Raiders, or Oakland Raiders, or Bangkok Raiders, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, they've been somewhere on the West Coast, man. West Coast.
Exactly. Raiders. Chuck says he has the blueprint to fix everything that's wrong in Chicago if he's given a chance next year as new coach of the Bears. Fellas, your thoughts? Is this just Chucky being Chucky, or is this a guy who could turn this whole thing around?
I'm not a Jon Gruden fan, so yeah. I mean, for me, you're asking the wrong person. I think the dude's very overrated as a head coach. But now I'll say this about him: I do like him as an announcer. So I like watching his videos that he puts on X, where he breaks down film and talks about certain games and quarterback plays. So I think he's a very good personality and he's fun to follow. I know he just signed with Barstool, so I think that's good for him too. As far as a head coach, though, man, I have never been a big fan of him. I think he could do some good things, but if look at his record after he won that Super Bowl that year with the Buccaneers, man, I felt like he's just had like this average team or this average record ever since then. Yeah. And I don't feel like he was getting the Raiders going in the right direction either.
Yeah.
After that whole debacle took place. So for me, I'm out on Jon Gruden.
I agree with you. He did not move the needle. He really did not move the needle, Trax, to make them more competitive. Obviously, the guy's knows his X's and O's. I would love him as a coordinator, Trax, but to think that this guy who's been away from the NFL now for, I think, 3 years and counting can fix what's wrong with us. What's your take on that?
I think that Gruden is a Super Bowl winning coach, and he led the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to a victory in a Super Bowl. His ability to bring a team to the championship level demonstrates his knowledge and leadership. You can't take that away from him, even though he had it once. You can't take that away from him because we only had it once and we're still talking about it 40 years later. He's a really good offensive mind. He's known for his offensive expertise. Gruden has a reputation for developing creative play calling and getting the most out of his quarterbacks. And that's what we need right now because Caleb is the next best thing. And if we don't get this right, then it sets our franchise back 6 years. As far as player development goes, Gruden has helped several players to elevate their game, particularly quarterbacks. His attention to detail and demanding style can help players improve. Also, his passion and energy. Gruden's intense passion for the game and his fiery personality can energize a team and motivate players. And as far as his, I've taken some notes on this. I was ready. His extensive NFL experience is basically the decades of experience as both head coach and analyst. Gruden understands the league deeply and can adapt to different situations and challenges. His leadership skills, he's known for his strong leadership, fostering discipline, and focus within teams. He's also an innovative coach. He has a reputation for breaking down opposing defenses and exploiting weaknesses, often tailoring game plans to his team's strengths. So these strengths, coupled with his experience, make him a compelling coach candidates despite any controversies that we might have. I think he's a good. I think he's a lot better than Eberflus for sure.
Well,
man.
yeah, and I
I'm not going to disagree with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Trex, you're right. He won a Super Bowl with Brad Johnson. He ran a Super Bowl with Brad Johnson.
Yeah.
Never be mistaken for Joe Montana or Tom Brady. And he's gonna bring the fire. He's a guy who's a fiery presence. And while you were talking, Trex, I was thinking about that. When was the last time we had a fiery head coach? I mean, let's think about it. Ever since the Bears fired Mike Ditka in 1993, and part of the reason why is he was too difficult to work with. He was not always a player's coach. The Bears have had, we talked about soft-spoken coaches ever since. Let's look through it. From Dave Wannstedt to Dick to Ron to Lovey. Lovey brought a tough demeanor behind the locker room, but he was soft-spoken. And, Mark Trestman and John Fox wasn't the most fiery guy. And, Matt Nagy couldn't really take this team to a whole nother level in terms of passion-wise. Is it time? Is it like Trex saying, Coop? Is it time to get a fiery old school guy to kick a fire under this team that we haven't had in 30 years?
I mean, you can make that argument. I'm just ready for. I think and if this eventually goes down, where Eberflus loses his job by the end of the year, which a lot of people think is going to happen, unless a miracle happens here over the next 8 games and we win a lot of them and we go in the right direction. I think at this point. And you can make the point of kind of what you're saying about Jon Gruden, but I think you have to find a coach with some. I think at this point, I think we want a coach with experience. I think I'm done with these coordinators coming in, and I know there's going to be some hot coordinator names out there, but at the same time, I don't think this direction is working with us. We've heard a couple of coordinators here the last couple of coaching cycles, and I think if you bring in a guy, and maybe it is a fiery guy, maybe it's a guy that will take that team into the right direction. Maybe the hold players accountable, more accountable. Is that type of coach? I don't know, but I think a coach in general, I think a head coaching experience should matter for this coaching cycle if this eventually happens in the future.
Yeah, the chat room blowing up already. Tracks Barrelissimo, one of our favorites, saying Gruden does enjoy smoking too much of his own press. He is a guy that is going to be like Ditka, publicity magnet. He's going to, like 𝐂𝐍𝐍, he's going to put the attention on himself sometimes. That can be good, particularly if he has a struggling team. But what do you say to people, Tracks, that say, look, Jon Gruden is a self-promoter who's been away from the game for 3 or 4 years, who is not guaranteed to be able to click with this young Bears locker room?
I think they're full of crap and they need a reality check, because when you get too friendly and too cozy with the players, that's the problem that Shane Waldron ran into. And the players in the end, they will call you out for it, because they will realize that they actually crave discipline. They want that. And but the buddy thing where you don't hold them accountable, even going back to some of the players that are saying right now that go back to training camp where some certain things were breaking down and he wasn't calling them out. Well, now they're starting to see that now that they're in the thick of things and they're falling apart and breaking down and the hardest part of their schedule, and they've lost so many games and they're 3-19 on the road and all these kind of things, and 14-29, all these things are red flags. These are bad things. These are things that have to get rid of, and we have to get back to the old way of things. We are in the blue collar NFC North. We said way too prematurely that we were going to take the North and never give it back. This is a guy that you have to get in there in order to freaking not knock on a door, but knock the door down. This is what we need, and this is what we need for our culture. Now, you say that, something very compelling that I like, that we need to go out and get a coach that has experience, a head coach. How many of those are out there that it's available? I just find it that it's interesting today. We're talking about on several different platforms, even on ESPN 670, all this in Chicago, not far away. So if you're local and you've been listening to local Chicago sports, this has been something that he's been talking about on how he can foster and have growth inside of the locker room and it starts with Caleb, how he can get all of that out of him, how he can work with him. And that's what needs to happen, and hold people accountable. Like, it just really sounds like he's very interested in it. And I'll be honest with you, through a couple shows and other places that I've been listening to, there's not a whole lot of people that are interested, that have experience, that want to take on a project like this, because we've got several black eyes and people are worried about whether or not they're going to last through a whole season, much less a few. And if you have somebody that has a black eye in the past as far as coaching goes, then this is your opportunity to make it right. And this is your opportunity to resurrect a whole freaking ball club that's been in the dark as of next year for 40 years, Cleet.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Trex. And, it goes back to what you're saying. Keenan Allen said that same thing about Shane Waldron this week, that he was too nice. But our good friend Cliff Victoria brings up a good point. Jon has some baggage. He comes with some baggage. And Trex, you've been watching this team your whole life. You know the McCaskey family. You know how conservative they are. You know that they like controversy. Yeah. Would they be willing to put their name with a guy like Jon Gruden, who there's a chance that he's going to, bring some heat to the organization week in, week out with what he says?
Oh, you're talking about the emails? Yeah,
the emails. And they were not good.
Was it plural? Was it many emails, or was it one? I can't remember.
Well, the thing about it was several emails. The thing that was unfair to Jon about it is these were without a warrant, what came up in an NFL investigation, and were corralled, I think, without his knowledge or so. In it anyway, the way that these emails came to light was very suspicious, as that somebody had a vendetta against Jon Gruden. But that being said, the emails, the language that was used, things that you just no good person should even think, let alone put in an email, is why the Raiders had no choice but to fire him. And he would have to promise, Coop, he'd have to promise the McCaskey family that he would never do anything like that again if they're going to entrust the keys to their baby boy to him.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. Bring in what type of coach you would want to bring in here, and the discipline and the accountability and the type of coach that they would want to bring in here. And you're right. So you would have to go back and you'd have to really do your due diligence and talk to him about those emails and about how that got brought up and why it got brought up, and just kind of take it from there if they were interested in him. Now, well, think about this for a second, though. I was thinking about this as we're talking about Jon Gruden, and isn't it funny? I feel like every couple of years we're talking about a coaching and a possible coaching change. It just it gets brought up.
Yeah.
Cleet, before the show, we were talking about how bad the NFL is this year, just how bad, and there's so many crappy teams, and the amount of coaches that are the amount of coaching jobs that could potentially be open by the end of the year. And my question is, with a lot of that bad NFL and a lot of bad coaching, we see like the players and the development of certain players on teams. Is the coaching in the NFL not as good as it once was, maybe about 2, 3, 4 years ago? Or some of these coaches that are coming in every couple of years, are they even qualified, or are they being rushed to be head coaches? Because I just find the NFL this year, just how bad there are so many 2-win teams, that a guy like Jon Gruden has been brought up again. Is he been brought up again because he's got himself back in? He's got himself because of his history, or is he getting brought back in because maybe the coaching carousel out there isn't so good?
I think it's because he just most recently was asked about. He just got that contract with Barstool, and he was asked about with the Bears and Caleb and this whole situation and how to help him out. And he's been known to help out quarterbacks, including ones who Cleet just mentioned earlier, that are lackluster or just average. Brad Johnson won a dang Super Bowl. So that's where it came up. I don't think it has anything to do with there's so many coaches that are struggling and all of that. I think that also has to go hand in hand with Tom Brady says about the watered down integrity of a quarterback and how they bring all these rookies in and they expect them to win right away. And it's not happening because they don't have the time to sit back as an apprentice and learn from a journeyman and get all those repetitions leading to retention. But getting back to the discipline and accountability, When I was in the military, and we talked about, your rules and your core values, accountability and discipline were inseparable pillars of success. Accountability ensures ownership of actions, while discipline provides a structure to follow through it. Together, they create a foundation for growth, integrity, and achievement, whether in sports, work, or life. That is one of our Navy core values when I was in the military and I was in the Middle East. Now, there was a couple times where me and several other sailors did some really bad things. We did our time, and once our time was done, we learned from that, and we weren't totally kicked out of the military. We were able to stay in after we did our time. Whether or not the NFL clears him to come back in is left to be seen. Once that happens, let's see if he learned from his mistake or whatever. And like Cliff said earlier, don't put it on emails, don't put it on phone calls or anything like that. You know what I'm trying to say? So, but getting back to the actual core values and accountability and discipline and what he does as an actual coach, whether, he made a mistake and said something stupid or not, those are two different things, right? So I just wanted to unpack really quickly that it's been floated and talked about him being a possible candidate of being a head coach. Whether or not I agree 100% that he should be our next Bears coach, that's not for me to determine. It's just something that we're talking about. And the way that he unpacked, I don't know if you guys heard it. I tried to pull it up, the video, but I couldn't pull it up. But it was a really good, compelling video on how he said that he could actually help Caleb out and basically, help bring him up instead of like mess with his head and stuff. So I thought it was really good.
Yeah, definitely great points that he's bringing up. And like Trek says, what a track record he has of working with young QBs. The Monsterverse blowing up. Great thoughts from everybody. Keep them coming. Berlissimo, Gary Player broke it down. Personal accountability really well. Amateurs practice until they get it right. Professionals get it right until they don't get it wrong. V-Dog also with another good point, backing up Tracks, that a lot of these franchises want results in a shorter amount of time. Coaches, players, owners, everyone wants quicker results nowadays. Absolutely, V-Dog. We're seeing that in the college football game. Tracks, I want to bring up this because this will be a factor if the Bears talk to Jon Gruden. Remember, when he was with the Raiders, he was on $100 million 10-year contract. So at the time he was making $10 million a year. Obviously a guy like him was going to be wanting to be paid like elite NFL head coach, which these days we would think would be about $12 to $15 million or more. You know how budget tight Tracks the McCaskies are. Will money be the factor that prevents Jon Gruden from potentially being head coach of the Chicago Bears?
I think part of it might have to do with, and I think it would be a hometown discount based on the fact that he's already got a black eye and he's got a track record on something that goes against the NFL, the shield. They protect the shield. That's why it took Mongo so long to get into the Hall of Fame, because of, they didn't like exactly everything that he said and did. It took him that long. It wasn't based on the merits of how hard he worked, how accomplished he was on the field. It was they didn't like the fact of the way he talked, the way he walked, the way he strutted, the way he was in, wrestling, all that stuff. There was a lot of things, but Mongo is Mongo. And you know what? A lot of the time, we don't look at football being for what it is, So I think that I think as far as money goes, you'd get a discount. Now, I will tell you something. There's a greater discount inside the building with Thomas Brown. Thomas Brown was actually in a couple different situations interviewed as a head coach, depending on how he does. And he was an assistant head coach when the Rams won the Super Bowl, and also as assistant head coach in 2022, also a tight end coach in 2022. So that to me shows that he has the ability and that connection with McVay, where they had back in Georgia and in Miami, and they just connected ever since. And he brought him right up fast from the word of God. Now with McVay, there's something there. There's some ingenuity. There's some really smart football, and that's probably what we need. So let's see how he leads these men. He says that he already wants to be a leader of men, and he wants to basically, call them out on the carpet and be accountable and stuff. And so far, the players are even coming back and saying that. I talked to Brad Biggs a little bit yesterday about this, and that is what's really important in the locker room for these guys, especially in terms of switching, a quick switch from one offensive coordinator to now a new offensive coordinator. It's going to change. Now, as far as scheme and stuff, guys, they're not going to change it up. The playbook's going to be the playbook. And in the McVay system, if you guys look back, Waldron was actually a few steps below where Thomas Brown was. He was actually underneath him in the hierarchy and what have you. But they all had the same scheme, the same idea, all of those beliefs. He does say, though, that there are a few wrinkles or a little few, and that's with anybody. We can all touch and agree, Cleat, the three OGs of, Chicago Sports Podcast. We all agree on a lot of things, but we're different, right? That's what shapes us. That's who we are. So you're not getting the cookie cutter Sean McVay, but you are getting a lot of the core there that helped them win that championship and has been entrusted in so many people. If you look back in the coaching tree of Georgia, you look back in the coaching tree of Miami Hurricanes, you look in the coaching tree of the Rams, that's pretty significant, right? That's some pretty good guys to learn from. So, I mean, they might do the cheap route and keep him here and elevate him into a head coach. I'm just saying it's possible. So, I mean, there's no cheaper way of doing that. At some point, they will have to pay him, Cleat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, of course, the other question here is Trax and Coop. I want to get your thoughts on this too. The million-dollar question, as we know, Trax, is would Jon Gruden be a Ryan Poles guy? Now, that's the question. Now, that's a big if Ryan Poles is still here after is over with. But Coop, do you see those two guys, if Poles is still here, kind of coexisting as GM and head coach?
I think at this point, if you're Ryan Poles and you missed on a head coach, and you've seen what has happened here the last 3 years with all the assistant coaches underneath his coaching staff that have been gone, and he's out of here after 3 years. You see all kind of the dysfunction that has happened here over the last couple of weeks with players coming out and speaking out and talking about certain things that they agreed or disagreed with. I think if you're Ryan Poles, if you have an opportunity like that, you have to listen to everything, even if it's not necessarily the guy that you would have on your list. If you think that could be the guy that could take you into the right direction, and a guy with a head coaching experience and have that type of guy come in and kind of change the culture a little bit around and try to get that rookie quarterback. And I mean, let's face it here. This is Caleb Williams we're talking about too, man. This is our rookie quarterback that supposed to be here. It's going to be here for a very long time. That's going to be very important. We already screwed that up already here with the first hire with Shane Waldron, which putting them together to start. I mean, you guys have seen the way he's played here the last couple of weeks, man. He looks a little bit lost out there. He looks like some of the rookie mistakes he's making, and some of that's on him, of course. Some of that's on him, but that's also with the offensive coordinator and the scheme and the plan that has come with it. So I think if you're Ryan Poles, I don't think it matters. I think you got to go out there and get the best possible guy you can because you want to get this team headed in the right direction. And at the same time, if you're Ryan Poles and you hire another wrong guy, you're going to be out of a job anyways. Yeah,
great point, Coop. Hey, Trax, as you see, V-Dog, great question from V-Dog from the Monsterverse. Courtney Cronin of ESPN mentioning on Waddle and Sylvie yesterday that he's on a playoff or bust mandate. And we've said that since the start of the year. He's got 7 games. I mean, math says what, Trax? He's got to somehow pull off the greatest miracle in Chicago sports history. Does he have to go as 6-1 to even get consideration to come back next year?
So here's what I initially thought, and I think a lot of people thought from what I talked to our co-host Jim Miller, who works for Sirius XM Channel 88. We're working with at Bridges Scoreboard and working at the casino with Cleat and myself. What he said about everything and who he talks to and who he's close with is that in the beginning, what they wanted to see is some growth and fostering and him being able to develop as a player and the offense start to grow in that. What when you unpack what John said today, like him or not, it makes a lot of sense. it's analysis. It's paralysis by analysis. He holds on to the ball way too long. He's trying to do way too much. And that's something that you don't do with a rookie. So I think in and of itself, being a head coach and allowing that to happen for so long, that's a problem. The other problem is you've had 3 offensive coordinators come in here, right? And all of his guys, except for Chris Morgan, God knows why he's still on the team as the freaking offensive line coach. There's no reason why he should have been there, Cleat. You know how I feel about my offensive line. He should be gone, brother. But yes, V-Dog is correct. Courtney Cronin said that. I talked to Pat, the designer. Same thing, that they've heard and they understand that he has to have a compelling win-to-loss ratio. I don't say win out, but it definitely has to be impressive in order to potentially keep this guy, because there's a big joke, Cleat, that's going on at Hallis Hall, that the McCaskies look at nickels the size of freaking manholes. So pay attention to that, and that might be more important than how well a guy freaking plays or coaches.
That is absolutely true, Trex. He will have to do that against the closing schedule that ranks the toughest in the NFL. Green Bay, Minnesota, at Detroit, at San Francisco, at Minnesota, 3 in a row on the road. Detroit, Seattle, and closing at Green Bay. All you can say is, Matt Cooper, good luck and Godspeed, Matt at Eberflus.
Cleat, I'd like to add something that you just brought up in the NFC North. Now, you guys pay attention, okay? Track with me. I'm not saying that we're going to win them all, because we're closely connected in the NFC North. We know them, they know us, right? We know all our bedsides manners, their side and our side. What I'm trying to say to you is we've just played the whole AFC. We are now starting to get in our division. We don't know the AFC like we know the NFC North. And that is why in, what was it, Cleat? 4 out of 5 quarters? No, that's wrong. My math ain't math in there. We played 2 games, and out of 8 quarters, was it 7 quarters that we beat Detroit? And look at how they are right now. Look at Minnesota with the injuries and everything that's happening with them. Green Bay, we might play close because Love ain't loving it over there. I mean, he doesn't look like Rodgers before he went to the puke green Jets, okay? And I don't know what it is with his fascination with green, but, I mean, the only thing that looks like that is puke and trash cans. So, I mean, and his game that he's playing right now is very trashy, dude. But I'm just saying, I don't think that just because we're going up into the NFC North and their record and the way they were playing early as any indication of how they are going to finish. Sometimes it's not how you start, brother, but it's how you finish. So I wouldn't count us out on all NFC North games, especially if we can get a little bit of, and you guys saw what Thomas Brown did with Miami, right? The Hurricanes, they rushed for almost 2,600 yards between 2 backs. Same thing that happened with the Rams when he was the assistant head coach, right? And he first started off as an offensive coordinator with Georgia. This guy loves to run the football, and that's what he said at his initial press conference here in Chicago. If you're paying attention to local Chicago sports in Chicago and turning up and listening to every morning like all of us do, he said this. He says, we're going to establish up front, and we're going to run the football. And he's a passing game freaking coordinator, and he's talking about running the football. So think for us, please, out there, okay? Something's going to change. And the problem with, and Cleat, you know this, and you know this too, Matt, we had a game where a rookie threw for 52 fucking attempts. That is freaking wrong, especially with their freaking offensive line. You got guys like Olin Kreutz, freaking Roberto Garza, all these guys that have played. You talk to all these guys, Jimbo Covert, they're all saying the same thing. Our Chicago Bears run block better than we pass block. Why the fuck are we passing the ball so damn much? Pardon my French. But seriously, it's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying, Cleat? Yeah. And you got to protect your rookie too, brother. That's what's more important to me, is protecting this guy, because we need him to do good. We just shipped out Justin Fields, and now he's 10 touchdowns, 1 interception in Pittsburgh. Now, he's not the sum of his parts. He's not the part that makes the sum, but he's still doing a damn good job. And they quickly found out how to use his strong points and try to stay away from his weak points, right? That's what good coaches do.
Absolutely, absolutely, Trax. And hey, on that thought, Trax, let's move along to the coach that's got to step up and save this season. That would be one Thomas Brown, as you mentioned. This segment of Chicago Sports Podcast, friends, is brought to you by Set 'em Up Lanes in Griffith, Indiana, Chicagoland's Family Fun Bowling Center. Reserve your lanes today, friends, at 219-924-3181, and roll a strike for nothing but a great time with your family and friends this
I love that.
season.
That's great.
Absolutely. All right, guys, as Trax was mentioning it, we've got a dead offense to somehow try to revitalize, and that job falls on the Bears' new offensive coordinator. That would be one Thomas Brown, who, Coop, you had a great stat before we were talking in the pregame, whose last offensive design experience actually came in last year's Bears-Panthers game. It's crazy how everything with the Chicago Bears team somehow finds its way back to the Carolina Panthers. Okay, as everybody knows, Matt Eberflus broke the break glass in case of emergency button on the Bears offense Tuesday. That button was flashing weeks ago, with even Bob Vila sending the Bears coach a must-fix now directive. So after weeks of delivering an offense that was as offensive as 101 Dalmatians, Flus finally fired Shane Waldron for the good of the world, and is now turning things over to Thomas Brown. Coop. Coop, let's talk about this. We all know this was the right move, but to fire is out of his element. OC, as Trax was mentioning, but was the move too late, Coop, to save the Bears season?
Yeah, I guess you could have made the argument. I don't know. That's a very tough question, though, too, because you brought him in for the first time as a first year offensive coordinator. So a lot of times when you fire somebody about 8 or 9 games in, first off, as a coach, you probably, especially being a coach in the third year where you're kind of on the hot seat, that usually would go and say to yourself, well, we're doing desperation here right now because this isn't working out, and it hasn't here the last couple of weeks. This is kind of a desperation move, and I'm interested to see what happens because, we talked about it the last couple of weeks. The two defenses we played against, the Patriots and the Cardinals, and we gave the stats the last few weeks. They were the bottom half of the league. They were 26, 27, 28, and in a lot of different stats. The Packers have a very good defense this year.
Oh yeah,
and I was
in the league.
Yeah, they got so like their passing yards against the pass, they're 15th, rushing yards against their 10th, and they are 6th in interceptions. So they do take the ball away pretty good. They're not getting to the quarter. Here's the thing that surprised me though. Every week I feel like I find something that surprises me. They're not sacking the quarterback. They're only 18th, and I was looking at their stats of like their studs like Gary. Who told me got 2.5 sacks. So they're not getting to the quarterback at times. So to what Trax's point is, Thomas Brown, go in there and run the football, get a little bit more protection up front. I think it's going to help that we're going to have both tackles playing again. Now, granted, they're coming back off not playing the last couple of weeks, but having both tackles, I think, is going to be huge. And if they could just establish that run game and just slowly progress with that, and then that could open up the pass game a little bit more and just kind of do some smaller things here, because this is going to be a defense, and they're going to listen, man. The Packers they're up there listening and seeing what's going on to our team all week long, and those guys and those in the back, they're going to be looking to take that ball away. I just said 6th in the league, man, and McKinney has had a hell of a year. Even though we saw him talking about DJ Moore and them going back and forth, look at his stats, man. He's got 6 interceptions this year. He is all over the freaking field if you watch them. Yeah. So I think this is going to be an interesting matchup, and I think that's what Thomas Brown's going to have to do in order to establish this, at least get a freaking touchdown this week.
Absolutely. Trex, you were talking about this, about you got to get back to Bears football. You've got to get DeAndre Swift set up again to have success. He needs to get 100 yards if we're going to have a prayer. Trex, what does Thomas Brown's Bears offense need to look like against Green Bay? And what do you think it's going to look like, for what does it need to be, Trex, for us to have any upset of pulling off an upset of an arch rival that owes us like the casinos own the Las Vegas Strip?
Man, you're setting some bars. I'm going to have to clip the shit out of this freaking thing, man. This guy's going off. Here's the thing. We have to run the ball early and often. If you see one thing that in the NFC North is that you can run the ball on everybody in the NFC North. There's no team in the NFC North that does not give up a lot. Now, before Billings got injured, for whatever reason, that big behemoth of a man covers a lot of real estate, and I don't know why it's so much different with him in there, but it is. And we'll be able to see 𝐷𝐿 and what he can do in terms of that. There's also some other guys in there that can sprinkle it in. And that's one thing that I like about Eberflus is that he likes to attack with his by committee approach on the defensive line. That's important. If anybody's played football like I have, and you two gentlemen, you know that it's important to be almost like a hockey where you have your starters, then you have your second line, your third line, and if the next man comes up, it's not that big of a difference. Not saying that if Sweat goes down, we're not going to see that big of a difference. Don't put lipstick on a pig. If he goes down, we're freaking screwed. I'm just saying, for the average guy like a DeMarcus Walker that comes out or something like that, a Booker. Now, Booker is somebody that I think is going to turn out to be a really good guy. And at early, when I was listening to all the nerds that cover all this stuff as far as like pre-draft and all that and rankings and whatever, Booker wasn't even on my radar. I don't even watch the college that he goes to. So why would it geographically even matter to me? Because I always respect and take care of where I am in the geographical area. Not saying anything about you, obviously, Cleat, because Iowa doesn't have a national football team. So you have to adopt the best team in the history of ever.
They don't have a Big Ten team either, Trax.
Hey, and the same thing with Matt. Matt's from the South Side. So boom, and I'm a transplant from California, but us veterans get to pick wherever we lay our head afterwards, where we want to pick our team. So we pick the Bears. But seriously, getting back to what you're saying, man, it all has to go with the run, man. If you can run on this team, then it's going to open up things for Caleb. And what I also like about our Thomas Brown, our new OC, was he was also a tight end coach, also an assistant head coach. So what does that say? He knows how to use our tight ends, right? So he's not just going to use our freaking tight end for one time like Waldron did as a freaking long snapper and say, all of a sudden he can't play tight end anymore. We have to protect our long snapper. Don't throw the ball to him ever. He's the most expensive long snapper the Bears have ever had. Do not freaking get him hurt. Like, I don't know what happened there, boys, but a couple times on the road, he shouldn't have even got on the plane because it didn't matter. They didn't even use him to the freaking fourth quarter. I think Thomas Brown gets more out of our running attack in both of the guys. Because if you look where they have Henderson and Mickle, Sonny Mickle, is that how you say his name? Michel? Yeah, Sonny Mickle and Henderson, they both carried the load, and it was a nice 60-40 split with the LA Rams in 2021. Remember, I'm from California. I follow a lot of the stats over there in Chicago, or in San Diego, the Chargers, wherever they're at freaking now. But so I like that. I like the fact that there was a split over there. If you look down there in Florida with Miami Hurricanes, same situation, okay? Now, can anybody really say that it's fair, Cleat? Can you say right now, Matt, that it's a fair, comparison in terms of looking at all the other teams that he coached and was a part of, and then going to a project with the Panthers and how they dismantled it and probably got the best running back the Panthers have ever had in the history of ever and just shipped them off to San Francisco and just dismantled that whole team and got rid of freaking DJ Moore, who we got. Thank you very much. I mean, seriously, can you freaking hold him accountable? And then whatever the heck Frank Reich was smoking, I mean, I just can't even, like you said, everything goes back to Carolina, but I'm glad that they gave us draft picks. I'm glad they gave us DJ Moore, and I'm sure damn glad that we got Thomas Brown, because if we didn't have him in the building, Cleat, who would we have, brother? Who would we have?
The ghost of John Shoop, Trax. The Monsterverse, great thoughts from everybody. Trax, backing up what you're talking about. Berlissimo, Chris Foster, Dennis Moody, great points, guys. They're all going back to the X factor that will determine Thomas Brown's success as the Bears' new OC, the offensive line. We all know that's going to have to be rebuilt in the offseason. But, Coop, what is your trust factor in an offensive line that just rendered 9 sacks last week against a middling New England pass rush of Caleb Williams that's given up 38 sacks for the year? What is your trust factor in them that they're going to be able to run block and get holes open for Rashawn Johnson and DeAndre Swift to start running wild again?
My trust factor. Listen, I don't think I've had a trust factor in the O-line the entire season. I think listen, I'm always looking for positive things too. So
Yeah.
I'm going to try to always find a positive, something positive in life in general. I think with both tackles coming, I did think Braxton Jones was playing pretty good football before he got hurt this year. If there was anything positive you could take away from our offensive line, I thought Braxton Jones, out of all the last couple of years that we've had him, I thought was doing very well. Now, coming back from an injury, he was out. Now, that injury, by the way, I can't believe he's coming back 2 weeks after that. I thought for sure after you saw that and him going down, I thought he was going to be gone for about 4 to 6 weeks. That would be bad. But I liked the way he played. I liked his aggressiveness, the way he would attack his blockers. If you watch a little bit more closely on some of the film, like the way he would attack a little bit better this year, I really was impressed with him. So I think with him coming back, I think that could help. I think the X factor is also going to be Darnell Wright and what we're going to get out of him too, because I felt like he's had his ups and downs this year too. I felt like he struggled at times. There were certain times you would see him play well and certain times that he would struggle. And like I told you, I gave you the stats about the Packers a little bit ago. This is going to be a much better. This defense is going to be much better than the Patriots and the Cardinals combined over the last couple of weeks because they got playmakers on this defense. And I think with the tackles coming back, that can be a good start. I think we're going to need our tight ends to help out a little bit more in this game plan. And we'll see where it goes from here. And if Braxton Jones can come back and he can play pretty well, and if Wright can come back and just be okay, I think that's better than anything is better than what we had last week.
Absolutely. Amen, Trax. Or amen, Coop, brother. Amen. Hey, over 100 members of the Monsterverse in the chat room tonight. Thank you, everyone. Everyone. And guys, you are brilliant. Bermlissimo, Cliff, as always, V-Dog, Chris Foster, Keith Perry, everybody get in the show. Please hit that subscribe button right there on your YouTube channel. Leave us, get that notification bell and leave a good review for Monsters of the Madhouse. So great to be with you, friends. Not even night out. Folks, want to bring you up to date. I know a lot of people, the gimmick fight of the century coming up later. We are now looking at about a 10 p.m. bell time. 10 p.m. bell time for Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson live on Netflix. We will talk about that shortly. But let's get back to what the Monsterverse has been talking about this offensive line. This week, we finally said "C'est la vie" to Nate Davis. And this segment of Monsters of the Madhouse Friends about the last call for Nate Davis in Chicago is brought to you by the worst stadium club in Worth. This is the closest you can get being at Soldier Field this Sunday. Be sure to check out the game if you are on that side of the city this weekend at the Worth Stadium Club. All right, fellas, we finally cut ties with the oft-injured, often unreliable $30 million Nate Davis this week. By subtraction.
What'd you say?
Oh, is this addition by subtraction with us finally cutting Nate this week?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely. I mean, dude, I didn't even know he was there except for we got a $10 million mulligan. I mean, he clearly didn't want to be there. I want to touch on what Bears Junkie 23 Hall of Fame just asked. Very important thing, and it's weird how that happened as soon as you segued into our offensive line. He said, are we getting our tackles back? Yes, according to Brad Biggs, who reported this morning that they were both healthy and participated. So we got Braxton Jones on the left, Darnell Wright on the right. Now Tevin Jenkins will be out, but then that means that we've got Ryan filling in for him over there. So that should be, I mean, is that Tevin? No, but that should be a decent fill-in. And like we talked about earlier, that's one thing that we like that the Bears are doing. They're filling in the roster, all 53 players, and they're doing this in a short time, Cleat, within 3 years, right? It's been 3-year rebuild, and it takes usually 5 to get it all right. So, you know.
Yeah, but, you look at this, no GM's ever going to bat 1,000 tracks, but is this the biggest miss of Ryan Poles? Boy, it's hard to tell. I mean, he had such a big miss with our wide receiver from Pittsburgh that just was here done. Yeah, thank you, Coop. Coop, is this maybe the biggest monetary miss by Ryan Poles so far?
I don't know. I think the Chase Claypool for a second-round pick was.
Yeah.
I thought even at that time, and I was vocal on that at that time, I thought that was too high of a pick to trade away, which that turned out to be Joey Porter Jr. for the Steelers, who's a pretty damn good cornerback for them right now. But this is a big one too. Listen, man, when you're bringing in some offensive linemen and you're paying them some big money, and that's a big miss, and you're literally just cutting them loose. with the amount of money that they signed him for, that's a miss, man. Like those are the type of players that you want to bring in and like especially help out a team you're trying to rebuild. Because don't forget, man, that's when the rebuilding process is going along, and you're trying to fill the offensive line gaps, and you miss out on a guy like that can hurt a little bit. But I think some of our players have stepped in and done a pretty good job, though. Even with so what Trax is kind of saying, I'm like, I kind of even forgot about him even the last couple of weeks when he popped up on the injury report last week with a back issue. I'm like, oh crap, I forgot that. Just because like we're not talking about him. But when you sign somebody like that and we're not even talking about him, and he's an afterthought, I think you could put that up there as a pretty damn big miss.
Yeah, and and the thing about it is there were such high hopes, and I think particularly with this offensive line, we thought he was going to be that was that place where you didn't have to worry about it. You were set there. Nate was going to be there, and there was just from week to week no performance consistency, and then obviously when the injuries and the attitude type come into play too, it just adds embarrassment to what I think has been, for me, the worst Bears offensive line I've ever seen, given the amount of money that was put into it. Obviously, this is not a high money offensive line, but it should be. It's given up 38 sacks in 9 games, guys. 38.
He's on track to go for 71 through the whole season, which is like top 5 ever. I remember what's his name? Carr.
David Carr. Yeah.
Dude, he got freaking killed, bro. I couldn't even believe he actually walked and he's not in a wheelchair after that season. I mean, he
was really never the same after that either.
No.
Yeah, really wasn't. Yeah, I think he was out of the league, guys, probably within 3 or 5 years. He didn't have a long life in the NFL. With what Trax is talking about, Coop, what odds do you give Caleb for surviving his rookie season healthy and playing in all 17 games with this O-line?
He looks like a pretty tough dude. I think with the new, that's gonna be a hard question to answer. Let's see what Thomas Brown does here over the next couple of years. See what he does. I think we got to see what type of game plan he puts in place and how he uses the offensive line, how he uses our running backs. I think we're gonna have a better answer. Now, do I think this offensive line is gonna magically just get better? I don't know, man. I think that's gonna be very tough, especially like I just said, when we have a couple of guys coming back that hasn't been playing for the last couple of weeks, trying to get back into the swing of things on a defense that is a pretty good defense in the Green Bay Packers. It's going to be interesting to me. The Packers defensive coordinator, who's first year with them this year, is pretty creative coordinator too. Him and Matt LaFleur have a history together. They've been together before, and from the couple of games that I've watched, he looks very creative in the way that he uses his linebackers. And the reason why they take the ball away so many times is because of all the different looks that they put in place. So I think it's going to be a good test for our offensive line this week against a defense that is not the Patriots from last week or the Cardinals from 2 weeks ago. That's why I'm excited.
Yeah. Hey, fella, great points, Coop. Hey, let's get back a little bit to Thomas Brown. This next segment of Chicago Sports Podcast is called Caleb Williams, How to Come Back from the Darkness. And it's brought to you by our friends at Elite Sports Framing and Memorabilia, where your favorite sports moments and memories come to vivid, everlasting life. Trax, you know it. First, have any chance of ending this 10-game losing streak to Green Bay on Sunday, somehow, some way, DJ Moore and Caleb Williams have to get on the same playmaking wavelength again. How can Thomas Brown make that happen? And how can these two players, who obviously are not seeing eye to eye right now, Trax, finally find some chemistry?
Well, I'll tell you one thing that I fall back to the military before I got into college football on semi-pro. It kind of what shaped me, right, guys, is one thing that happened where like the fat guys, and by any means, they weren't really fat in terms of like a civilian, but military. They always were at the front of the pack. And the little guys, the cleats, were on their heels, just chipping at their heels and just get off me. Makes you run faster.
You're never catching them, just running circles, Trax.
Yeah. Never leave a twirly bird. Yeah. Never leave a man behind. And that holds true. Always have your brother six. Thomas Brown said they're doing a lot of things together right now. They're not doing things in like these little cliques or packs or whatever. He's trying to bring everybody more together. And I think that's what's going to help out is right now getting everybody together, galvanizing, keeping them together, and trying to tune out all the things that are going on, including in our chat and everybody else's chat and all of that, because I mean, there is a lot out there. And guess what, guys? You have every right to be as upset as you do, because right now let's look at it this way. We had 4 wins with this clown. We had 4 wins with 2 clowns in a circus, in Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron. How the hell did we manage to do that when most of those teams were in the playoffs last year? If you look at all those AFC teams that we played, they were in the playoffs last year. How did we even manage to get 4 wins out of that, right? So that is interesting all in of itself, Cleet. It's pretty crazy to even think that that happened, man. So I think that it's possible for us to get some wins out of this, given that the fact that Green Bay doesn't even know what the hell we're going to do. We don't even know what the hell we're going to do. We have a better clue than anyone else because potentially we're practicing that right now, right? But the Green Bay, they only know the dysfunction that they've seen all the way from, we'll go back all the way to Fox, right? And then freaking, Matt Nagy and all the OCs and the offensive guys who weren't offensive. They were just offensive to us, you know? So, I mean, that in of itself is speaking volume that they don't know what hand we're going to show. As long as, and I don't know why he would, right, boys? Why the hell would our defensive-minded head coach stick his nose in it and tell us what we're going to do? And I'll tell you what, I was pissed off last game when our very first play was play action. I thought they even faked me out, Matt. I thought we were going to run the freaking ball in the first. I thought, oh, here we go. And Daniel was like, ha, 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 they threw it.
Yeah. It's just,
Oh my God.
yeah, boy. Yeah, exactly. Checks. Hey, let's, like Check's saying, Coop, that's something, all this dysfunction, the comedy show that the Bears have been over the last 3 weeks could actually play in our favor, because you would think that with brand new offensive coordinator system, that the Packers are going to be doing some guessing on Sunday. But as Berlissimo said, they're going to be disguising some packages. They are going to be using the stuff that's made them one of the best defenses in the NFL so far this season. How is this going to play out, Coop? What's going to be the X factor that determines Sunday's game?
Ooh, man. The X factor, I'm going to say the coaching. I think, listen,
advantage Matt LaFleur.
Here's what I'm going to give you something. I think Matt LaFleur is the X factor. Could be the X factor.
Yeah.
In this game. I think he's such a good coach. They're coming off their bye. Jordan Love is 100% healthy now. Now you got to remember this. Jordan Love was hurt for the last 3 or 4 weeks and was limited and was questionable for games. And now he's coming back. He was a full participant. I was reading that he's a full participant in the practices. He's 100% healthy. He's going, and this is the healthiest he's been in a while. And I think if Matt LaFleur puts him in the right position where he's not throwing interceptions, because he's thrown the ball, 10 interceptions this year. Yeah. Even though he's thrown for about 1,800 yards, he's thrown just over 1,800 yards. He's got 10 interceptions. I think Matt LaFleur plays it straight and plays it to the defense and kind of looks and see what the Bears are giving them. I think him and Jordan Love could be the X factor of this game, because listen to this. If the Packers lose this game Sunday, me and Trax, we were talking about this, and I was talking to some of my friends up in Milwaukee about this. If the Packers lose this game, the Lions play the Jaguars Sunday, and the Vikings play the Titans. So those are very winnable games for those 2 teams in our division. If the Packers lose another game and fall even further back, it's going to be tougher for them. They're looking at that. They're looking at this saying, "Hey, we got to keep up with them in front of us right now." Yep. And they're so I don't think like any of this stuff. I think they're going to be going in there just saying, "Hey, we got to win these football games coming in." So I think it's going to be Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love, the two. I'm going to put them together as the X factor for
I agree with you, Matt. The thing about Matt LaFleur's offense is they never look static. They never look like they're easy to predict, that they're just going through the motions. And he's always throws. His ability to throw wild card plays in there and get first downs and big plays out of him is unmatched in my opinion.
He's incredible, man. I'm sorry. Listen, man, I cannot stand the Packers, and it drives me nuts that we haven't beaten them in so long. That guy's a hell of a coach, man. He is absolutely, yeah. And I'll give him all that. I'll give him credit for all that, man.
Yeah, he's a coordinator that has become the hot coordinator that has become one of the elite coaches in the NFL. All right, guys, I hate to bring it up, but our next segment of Chicago Sports Podcast, Monsters of the Madhouse, is how do we not call the Packers our daddies? And this is brought to you, friends. This is brought to you by our good friends at Bridges Scoreboard, your Northwest Indiana Chicago sports headquarters, where Brandon tracks Hyatt in just about, 14 hours, we'll be live with Bears legend, one of the all-time greats, ladies and gentlemen, the man who instituted the no-fly zone over Soldier Field back in the day, the one and only Donnell Wolford will be with you tomorrow. Is that right, Trax?
Oh, yeah. I thought you were going to say Devin Hester. I was like, no. He's got a ring to get on Sunday.
Donnell Wolford will be live with Trax tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. for a special Saturday edition of the Monsters at Bridges Scoreboard, ladies and gentlemen. Your your Northwest Indiana Chicago sports headquarters with the Hall of Fame menu and the coolest beer in all of Chicagoland. Okay, guys, as Pedro Martinez would say, we've been calling the Packers our daddy for a long time. Trax, your son Trax was 2 years old the last time the Bears beat the Packers. My daughter Mac was 1 year old. Listen to this, Coop. Caleb Williams was a sophomore in high school.
Oh,
the last time the Bears beat. I talk about aging ourselves. So it's 10 straight losses. It's 25 of the last 28. It's absolutely killing every member of Bears universe without question. From a morale standpoint, from a sanity standpoint, from just we did something to salvage this season on. How big is Sunday's game for Bears Nation, Matt Cooper?
How big is it? It's big because we need to get a bit with everything. Listen, yes, losing to the Packers, we're 10-0. Is that Matt LaFleur's record's 10-0 right now against us? And you just gave the stats and how long it's been since we win. Yes, I think it's important that we beat the Packers. I think it's even more important that we get back on the right track here after the last couple of weeks of the way they played. With all the firing of Shane Waldron, a new offensive coordinator, the way Caleb Williams has looked, we haven't had a touchdown in 23 quarters we're going on. I think we need to score some points. We need to get some touchdowns, and we just need to look like a freaking football team out there that's competitive and at least make this a competitive game. I'm kind of over the whole Bears Packers until our teams get better, until we start winning some games against them. They freaking own us, man. I just think we've got to be more competitive this week. We got to put something out there that gives us a little bit of hope.
With question, Trax, following up what Coop said, what will be the X factor that determines Sunday's game, and how do we win Sunday's game?
I think if the way that the other three teams have beat them and the other teams that have got close against the Packers, that's what we need to analyze. In terms of that, when you look at the way the Eagles did it, in terms of that, you look how the Lions did it. In terms of that, the way you look how the Vikings did it was all with the ground game. I don't care if they pull a cover one and put everyone in the box. There's some guys that are injured and they just flat out cannot stop the run. And if you can run the football on this team, it's going to open up and let Caleb does what he does best. And he will not have to put the team on his back. He won't have to scramble. It won't be freaking paralysis by analysis. He'll be able to be a freaking rookie quarterback and make those reads and throws when he needs to. We need to get the run game going early, and we need to take advantage of the Packers' weakness, and that is the run game.
That's a good point. Bread and butter of what we do best, what they struggle at the most. Coop, you brought up a good point in the pre-show. In these 10 games, the Bears have been in these games. I mean, it's not like we've been pulling off the field at every single step of this 10-game losing streak. A lot of times we're right with them in the first half, but as we know, Matt Eberflus doesn't know how to win any kind of game in the close game in the fourth quarter, let alone the Packers. How do we win a close game Sunday? If it's going to come down to execution, how are we going to keep this game off the foot of Tory Taylor with us having the ball with a chance to win?
Time of possession. I think we got to
don't take Tory Taylor out of it. We need him.
Yeah. Leave his name out of it. Damn you, Cleat. Time of possession, man. I think the more. I was just giving my flowers to Matt LaFleur about the way he calls a football game and how his offense is. I think we got to try and keep them off the field, man. Even though Jordan Love has thrown a few interceptions this year, he can still throw the deep ball and throw a touchdown pass. And Josh Jacobs is also, that's another X factor of the Packers. Josh Jacobs has had a really good year for them too. Over 700 yards of rushing right now. He's a good power runner. They got a good offensive line. So I think if we keep their offense off the field, and then kind of like what Trax just said a second ago, and we run the ball a little bit more, we get Swift going. We get our running game, we get our offensive line moving a little bit more, and just stay on the field and just keep that time of possession a little bit more in our favor. I think that could be in our advantage for winning this game.
And back to what you said too. That's going to come down to Caleb being able to convert third downs and get the protection he needs to convert third downs. That's my X factor, fellas. Fellas, it's time to go on record. Brandon Trax Hyatt, who wins Sunday's game and what's the final score?
Man, I hate doing this, especially with this game for sure. I mean, honestly, I got pressured into Wednesday, and I said the Bears were going to win, but it was by a very close margin. And I'll be honest with you, I got to unpack this years ago. And then this is good, my grandfather's story, and I love it. It's precious because one thing that he told me is that liars figure and figures lie. And his Lions, the same year that Brett Favre won the Super Bowl, the Lions were 3-13. Do you remember the one game that they fucking won? It was against the goddamn Packers. So watch your freaking mouth and root for your freaking team and freaking bear the fuck down and quit freaking being a Packer backer and talking about how they are so great and slob-knobbing over love because Rodgers is gone and that crush is over. Unless you want to go see him get crushed over with the New York Jets, be my guest. But we don't freaking need you, okay? So bear the fuck down. I'm getting myself all worked up. I'm working myself into a lather. I'm saying the Bears are going to win this game, but it's not going to be by much, okay? Because we're going to take that 3-13 initiative and we're going to punch the Packers right in their mouth. The only thing that this doesn't add up with, and I said liars, figures, and liars and figures lie, is because the Packers will not be going to the Super Bowl. The Packers will not win the Super Bowl. So this doesn't even mean shit at all what I'm saying right now. The only thing that I'm going to say is that the Bears are going to beat the fucking Packers because it's about goddamn time. So let's go 24-21 Bears.
All right. Let's hope they play with your passion, Brandon Trax Hyatt on Sunday. Matt Cooper, what you got for Sunday?
Boy, my last 2 weeks, they've not looked good on my picks, huh? I had the Bears winning last week. I had the Bears winning against the Cardinals. Remember I said
I've
the
been
Bears?
so proud of you, Matt. I've been so proud of you. You're all glass half full, brother.
I said the Cards, like, man, they're going to go to Arizona. They're going to win like 31-24. And I'm like, oh boy, was I wrong on that? And then I'm like, okay, well, you know what? The Patriots suck. They're going to wipe them. They're at home. And then I watched that last week and I'm like, holy crap, man, my picks the last 2 weeks have been awful. God, I want my heart saying the Bears, but here's what I will say. I think the Packers are an okay team. I don't think they're a great team. I think they're an okay team. They're not a bad team. They're not an awful team. I don't think they're as good as the Lions, though.
I don't think they're as good as their record, Matt. I really don't.
I think they're winning this year because I think they're taking away their defense takes away the ball a lot, and they make big plays on defense. And I'll give them that. I think it's going to be tough, though, man. I think it's going to be hard having an offensive coordinator calling plays here first weekend against a team like this. But I think the Packers somehow edge the Bears out. I hate to say it.
Yeah,
I think the Packers win 20. Let's just say 27-21.
I want to share two scores with you knuckleheads out there that are naysaying my freaking Bears right now in the damn chat, okay? And don't worry, I've been doing a lot of naysaying myself, and it's okay for me to do it. But when I see other people do it, it pisses me off. So hold on a second. I'm pulling out my trusty phone, okay?
How dare you piss me?
Listen to this. Listen to this. Packers, Jaguars, 30-27. Make it make sense. Why not we too? What would you guys say if we lost by 3? I know I'd rather win by 3, but what if we pulled out a Packers, Jaguars? Here's another score. Packers, Rams, and this was without their 2 star-studded offensive receivers, man. This is when they had a bunch of nuts and bolts out there, and they didn't even have the full package put together. I mean, you look at these games, man, and I'm not – what about the Packers and Colts, 16-10? I'm telling you, boys, they're 6-3, and I'd love to be 6-3 also, but their record looks a lot better than they really are. I'm just saying.
That's a good point. Good point. The Monsters verse is all over the place. Bellissimo calling Packers 42-9. Praying that he's wrong. Chris Foster calling a Green Bay runaway 38-0. Pack. Chris calls
38. Who said 38-0? We're not going to score a point, so we're not going to score a touchdown this week.
Well, okay, you can't blame Chris. You can't blame Chris with his as offensive as this offense has been over the last 3 weeks. I got to go with Bellissimo and Chris, guys. I want to drink the Kool-Aid, but hey, look, I already owe my bookie a cool couple hundred over my last couple of Bears misses. I'm calling Green Bay by 20. Lord, hope I'm wrong. I'm calling
Oh,
30 to 10. 30 to 10. Stone cold, lead pipe, lock it in, boys.
Hey, that's more points than if we got a touchdown in there.
That means we got a
there's
touchdown. Yeah.
We
Well,
haven't had a touchdown in the last 2 games. So if Thomas Brown scores a touchdown, his job isn't on the line anymore, because what does he do besides score a field goal? If he scores a field goal like he did last game, he matches the effort of freaking Waldron, who's been here most of the season. And so now he comes in, scores it. But I like what Cleet's saying. He's going to score not only a touchdown, well, the players are, but he's going to lead them into that, and a field goal. I like that.
no, Trex, you actually have more faith than me, my friend. I think that's going to be a defensive touchdown.
Oh, come on. You're killing me, man.
All righty.
Jordan Love.
Gentlemen, we are just minutes away. Cheryl Chiders, our great friend. Great to see you. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody in the Bear Monsterverse, been awesome tonight. Friends, we are just minutes away from the gimmick fight of the 21st century. Live on Netflix, Iron Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. Jake Paul reportedly getting 40 million plus. Iron Mike getting 20 million plus. Who wins this showdown and how? We start with you, Marvelous Matt Cooper.
Ooh. Well, first off, I cannot stand Jake Paul, so it's making me easier to root for Mike Tyson in this. I'm rooting for Mike Tyson, but listen, man, the 31-year age gap, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's going to be tough for him to beat somebody that young that's a good fighter. But Mike Tyson's the baddest man on the planet at the same time. I want Mike Tyson to win, but I think Jake Paul.
Yeah, I agree. Trex, it's the youth. 31-year difference, as Coop said. We all talk about that. We all love the Iron Mike classic right hook. Best in the history of boxing. I just don't think he's going to be able to get in position to land that. What's your call tonight? Who wins this fight, Trex, and how long does this fight go?
Do biting ears off count or not?
Not on the score sheets, unfortunately.
This guy's been fighting for almost 50 years. He's got a lot of train in him. He looks like in really good shape for being 58, man. I'm telling you right now, I don't know if this freaking powder puff, prime smashing freaking YouTube weirdo can freaking hang out with Mike Tyson. I'm telling you right now, I'm a little nervous, boys. You better check yourself at the bar with the attitude youngsters, because if this old man wins, these old guys are going to take a shot at the title and might knock you off that bar stool.
Trex, good point. Let's not forget, George Foreman won the heavyweight championship of the world in 1994 at the age of 46.
I was just thinking about that.
Don't give up on the geezers. Absolutely.
Give up on the geezers.
I hope Mike Tyson knocks the shit out of him.
I tell you what, if this was Logan Paul, if this was Logan Paul, I would like Logan Paul's chances a lot more than Jake Paul. I'm going to say Tyson gets in there. I'm going to say Iron Mike shocks the world, baby, like Track says. I'm going Iron Mike by TKO in the.
What is there like plus 300 if Tyson knocks him out in the first round? I think it is.
Is that what it is? Is plus 300?
300. Yeah. You got time to still get those bets in, everybody. Boy.
And that fight's coming up here soon, man. I can't wait to watch. I'm excited. I'm excited to watch this.
Yeah. Hey guys, real quickly, how about this? What Bears player, past or present, in your mind would have made a world championship caliber boxer with the right training?
Mongo.
Mongo, yeah, heavyweight, right? Heavyweight tracks, obviously.
Heavyweight. I mean, it depends. If you want him to get small, he probably could. But it would yes, it would be heavyweight. Yes.
How about Kyle Long? I think Kyle Long would be badass.
Ooh, I like this Buckus. Yeah.
Olin
Kreutz.
Yeah, you know who? Here's going way back in the day. RoboCop James
Tillman boxed.
Tillman box. Yeah. Tillman could be great. RoboCop was built like absolutely.
Oh, I forgot about him.
Yeah, he
still is, bro.
Yeah. What about Trex? What you've seen him lately? What about Urlacher? What about Brian? Brian would have been a great boxer.
Bro, Urlacher, I tell you what, he gets really mad at technology. You get him fired up and give him a computer, he will smash your face and beat you in 2.4 seconds.
Yeah. Dick Buckus, KO Sports Talk. Great point about that. Barillissimo, Olin Kreutz. Just ask Fred Miller, of course. Great point about
Barillissimo. Olin Kreutz responses in there.
Yeah. Lance Briggs. Oh, Julius Peppers. Yeah, good point, John. But Lance Briggs would have been
fun.
Dynamite heavyweight. Absolutely. So, guys, it looks like That fight
Wait,
should be going
as
right.
many bad takes as you've had about trouncing my Bears and all this garbage, you've just laid up some beautiful, words out there today. There's a lot of dimes. I've got to chop up some stuff and send it out into shorts and stuff. And that was really cool what you just said there, man. You've been on it, dude. You've been on it.
Oh,
If
hey,
you-
birthday tracks. Hey, speaking of tracks, don't forget this guy does not sleep. He will be live, friends, in a little over
Right
13
here.
hours and 20 minutes, live from Bridges Scoreboard in beautiful Griffith, Indiana, right there with the legend. I can't wait to tune into this one. One of my
Bears top 100.
Yeah, Bears top 100. At one point was number 3 on the Bears offense, the Bears all-time interception record chart, till some guy named Peter Tillman knocked him down. Matt Cooper, Donnell Wolford, one of the all-time great Bears players. What's your when you think about the great?
And he's a Steeler. He's a Steeler, so he makes both people in Matt's house happy.
I can tell you, I see the graphic up here. I know my girlfriend, my pick graduate girlfriend's gonna be very interested in this game tomorrow against Clemson.
Yes.
So
Hey, I will tell you guys one other factoid, which Clete probably already knows because he probably printed it while it was happening. Wrote it up. Was that he actually got the interception record faster and held it longer than Tillman did before he got it. Now, obviously, Tillman has it and whatever, and have you, and then he went off to play good with the Steelers and whatever. But Bears top 100, man. I'm excited, boys. I've talked to him many times on the phone. I've encouraged him to text first, but he still don't listen. He's old school. Good freaking dude. Looking forward to hanging out with him. I actually got to pick him up in the city, drive him to, I'm going to be like, an Uber driver tomorrow, and pick him up in the city at the hotel, take him here, and then back to the hotel. I'm glad he doesn't have me taking him all the way out to the Wall, because that's where he'll be at Sunday for the Bears game. He's going to be at the Wall in Gurney, and that is a hike. You know that, Coop.
Oh, yeah, that is.
Oh, yeah, I remember that drive.
In the boondocks, without question. And then Trax, you'll be right back at Bridges on Sunday for our Bear Down Chicago Bears pregame coverage. Don't forget, folks, the best, most fun Bears game day show in all of Chicagoland is with Trax and Monsters of the Madhouse, live from Bridges Scoreboard.
Free shameless plug really quick, ladies and gentlemen. Free 55-inch television, 50/50 tip board, all that good stuff. We're going to be giving away for trivia. I'm going to give you guys in-game trivia. I stumped them all in the second quarter with 11 minutes in the game. Who had the holding call? It was Matt Pryor, which is one of his many errors, but he still does good as a backup from the Colts. So anyways, that's how atrocious our offensive line is. Nobody had the answer, so I had to move on. But actually, I tell you what, they're pretty smart in the building. They've won a lot of stuff. They've won a lot of signed autographs, pictures, memorabilia, all kinds of stuff. The Bridges Scoreboard, they give away so much stuff that's not nailed down to the floor. I've had to start nailing all of our podcast stuff down to the floor because they're trying to give that away too. So it's a lot of good fun. They got good wings, good burgers. They've got freaking really cold beer. They've got it's a lot of fun, a lot of good stuff going on. I'm gonna have in-game commentating. I'm actually on a thread where I get a lot of good information from Brad Biggs. And so I get to keep in-game things that are going on. You don't even see in TV or at the game, things that are happening before they go into the tent. They are now going into the tent because of this ankle or this or that. So it's really cool that they get this, and they really appreciate that closeness and that inside voice. So it's a lot of fun. We'll be there at 11 o'clock at Bridges Scoreboard, 121 North Griffith Boulevard, Griffith, Indiana, right on the state line, man. You got to get up there and have some fun with us, man. Seriously.
Absolutely. Cliff, really quickly before we go, Trax, Cliff had a great question. Any word on if the players from what you're reading and hearing are happy that Waldron is gone and ready to go?
Yes.
And I would have to imagine absolutely.
You said that quickly.
Yeah. Team reborn again. All right, guys. Barrelissimo just checking in. It looks like they're getting ready to rock and roll at AT&T Stadium in Dallas. So
very quickly, Trax. There's a certain guy on this podcast that's turning 50 next week that we got to say a quick.
Trax is too old. Trax ain't
I'm not talking about him.
No.
What are you talking about?
My math usually ain't mathing, but I know my age most of the time.
Leroy Pinky Pinkston the third is not turning 50. Coop, what are you talking about?
There's
Lugo, like 25.
guy with the name C. I know of that. So happy early birthday.
All right. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Good Lord willing, I'll still be here a week from now.
Hold on. You get the applause. Let's get it. Come on. Hold on. Wait. Where's it at? Oh no, that's not it. Sorry. Here you go.
Fellas, another reason why. Thank you so much. And all I want for my birthday really is a Bears win over the Packers. That will do it for me, guys.
Let's go.
All right, man.
For the voice of the Chicago sports fan, it's been an honor and privilege. Brandon, Trax, Hyatt, Matt, the Great American DJ Cooper, French, I'm Cleve Campbell. It's been an honor and privilege talking sports with you tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the Paul Tyson fight here coming up on Netflix. Enjoy the Bears game on Sunday. Let's pray for a victory. And until we meet again, keep living your lives like NFL Hall of Famer Steve Mago with Michael, with everything you've got. Good night, Chicago. We'll see you next time on
Love you guys.
Monsters of the Madhouse.